Hi.
Hi, good
Hello,
evening.
Tori and Joanna. So great to be here.
Hello,
Great
thank
to see
you
you,
for joining
Michelle.
us tonight, Michelle, on our 21st episode, 22nd, I think, of Leadia Live. We're doing an Explorer Spotlight on Michelle Shinagawa, who is our Leadia Festival guide coming all the way from New York. She's going to be joining us in Istanbul in a couple of days. But today we want to hear all about you, Michelle. So maybe you can introduce
Okay.
Michelle.
Michelle is an extraordinary person. She's Japanese and she lives in the US. So she's a well traveler. And like majority of our guides or our facilitators, she lived in different countries. That's quite important for us because when you're living in different countries, basically you're open to explore the different things. And now we are going to discuss about Michelle's expectation in the festival and her exploration journey. Then we are going to ask her whatever we are going to learn about everything.
Right. Right. One of the things that struck me really is like Michelle is a professional organizer, but not just of spaces, but also of businesses. Do I understand it correctly?
Yes.
Yes. Why don't you tell us more about yourself first? Yes.
Sure. So I help people organize not only their space, but their business or their mind or time schedule. Sometimes you feel like you're overwhelmed, and then when you have a tight deadline, you end up like tidying your office, and you're not doing your actual thing you're supposed to do. Have you ever had that kind of experience?
I always do that. Actually, I put it on my bio. Like, I love rearranging furniture because it rearranges like my mind. So, is it really that? It's connected to
She's
it.
right, she does.
I
It
do really.
does. So, our brain is connected to our environment, especially. So men can be more focused to like whatever, or I should say, more masculine brain can just focus on one thing, but more feminine brain, we kind of see everything. And when there's all these clutter, our brain is actually taking them in, and we can't focus on what we want to focus. You get it, right? That's why you end up like, oh, I gotta move this thing and I gotta like straighten up my kitchen when you're supposed to be doing your actual assignment. So what I help people declutter home and also organize home so that disappears. But also there's a lot of things in our mind, right? Like there's a lot of things in our mind that
Right.
be organized, and sometimes it just feels like, oh my god, my mind is like so like full and you can't think of anything here. But once you clear that out, then you can start being more creative. Have you ever had that kind of experience?
All the time. And especially now we're on overdrive with preparations for the festival. So, it's
Oh yeah.
exactly how we're feeling right
In fact,
now.
like I think a few months ago, or maybe a few years ago, I heard something like the men are basic thinkers. When you ask a question, they have an answer, yes or no, or I don't know.
Oh.
But when you are asking a woman a question, or when a woman asks you a question, and when you say yes or no, the follow-up questions are coming. So like they are thinking more like wide spectrum.
Right.
So for man, that's why like that communication, I think there was a book called as like men are
From
from Mars,
from
women are from
Venus.
Venus.
Yeah.
So that's in fact like how different we are thinking.
Yes.
So that's so true in fact.
Yeah. So what I do is actually help people do this on purpose, right? Like, because I think Joanna can relate, like it happens at inopportune time, right? It's like, no, I don't have time for decluttering. No, I don't have time to be downloading my brain. But if you don't have it prepared, then you kind of have to do it. So what I do is help people declutter and organize either their office or their mind or their business, like time schedule or their people network or any of those things. So that way, when you're ready to do your assignment, you're ready to do your assignment as opposed to needing to do all these other things.
I love it. So would it be kind of like the zero inbox thing people are doing? They want nothing on their table so they can get to work when they need to. It's kind of that same mindset, right?
Yeah, so it's similar to that, except that I follow the KonMari method. Have you ever heard of KonMari method?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
with KonMari method, you don't have to do zero. You can keep anything that spark joy.
Hmm.
So that works for me because I like stuff. I like people, right? Like, so I want to keep anything that spark joy, but something that's not, I say goodbye to with gratitude.
Right. Right.
So
Right. The secret is in how to sustain the organization, because sometimes, okay, we're so neat, and then when the life happens, it becomes disorganized again. So yeah, I think
Obviously, for people like us who change to cities or their houses quite often, which we made it like since we got married 4 times, I think, right?
more, I think more. Yeah,
So,
and with a young child, so
mhm.
that's a struggle.
and in fact, it's coming to a point that you're understanding the benefits of minimalism.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
like there are so many things which you need to organize. It's so difficult to organize everything.
Mhm.
So it's in fact minimalism is a great priority mechanism.
Yes.
Not joy. It's joy. Great
But if
priority
you have
mechanism.
few things, then you are enjoying them more also, right?
That's true.
Right. So it's not just the sake of getting rid of things and having less stuff, but just keeping stuff, only keeping stuff that spark joy and being responsible and taking care of them.
Hmm.
Right. So when you have too many things, sometimes we just go on a shopping spree because just we're really stressed out. And then we just like pile them up and never really touch them.
Right.
When you look
Right.
at it, it's like, oh yeah, I didn't really need that. So you want to say goodbye to them with gratitude, right? Like, thank you so much for taking care of my stress. And
Hmm.
go someone else who would actually enjoy you, right? That you just enjoy just buying it, but you didn't really want to wear it. So if you just keep the stuff that spark joy for you, then you would actually want to take care of them. Right, like your child, right? Like if they're around, you take care of them. And when you have too many stuff that you're like okay about, or like, oh, it was okay, or it was too expensive, I don't want to throw it out, then they don't get taken care of. But if you only keep things that spark joy, then you actually would take care of them like your child. And when you do that, then things won't go out of control. Maybe it'll go out of control for like a day, but then like, hey baby, you belong here. Hey baby, you belong over there. And then you can put it away very quickly. I only know this because I used to be very disorganized and really messy.
So why don't you tell us about that? How did you go from being disorganized and messy to being an organizer? Yeah. What's the exploration or the story there?
It's because I love stuff, right? I used to have so much stuff, and it was like I used to have like 5 closets, and that wasn't enough for me. And I live in New York City, so I
Wow.
have like avalanche from the closet. And then I came across KonMari method. I tried any other method, every other method, and it didn't work for me because I couldn't sustain them. And then I also, I didn't want to just get rid of things. But what I love about the KonMari method is I can just choose things that spark joy. So we're focusing on positive, and then also sending things out with respect. We send it with gratitude, right? Not just like feeling guilty. It's like, oh, I gotta check this thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I help my clients with how to find more ways to be able to say goodbye with the way that sparks joy. Like some of my clothes that I used to just shove it in my closet for 5 years, get to see the light and go to Paris with someone that I donated to. Right? And then I get the picture and I'm like, oh, my clothes is so much happier in Paris. So it's not just, getting rid of things and just throwing things out, but also finding a way that sparks joy for you for your item that used to belong to you in that way, and taking care of them. So I'm also an energy healer, so I can see, so when I work with my clients, I can see like some items are weighing people down. So with the
Oh, yeah, that's very interesting. I had one friend who told me that no matter how much you work on your inside, like decluttering inside, if your physical environment is still not cluttered, there's still heavy things bringing you down, the flow or the feng shui is not gonna happen. I mean, you're not getting the the right energy through it. So that's such a unique. I wouldn't say unique. It makes sense. It's such a sensical combination to be both an energy practitioner and to deal with decluttering and releasing. And just to go back to what you said earlier, because it's what really struck me. Um, when you let go with respect, there's no guilt that, oh, I wasted my money and my time buying something that I didn't use, when in fact it had a use. It gave you something joyful when you purchased it, right?
yes.
And you just leave it at that. You accept that you were happy when you bought it and that served its purpose. Now it's being moved on. Yeah.
We have talked to several guys, facilitators so far, and all of them are unique personalities. But on all our talks, I understood two things. One, they are doing everything to feel joyful and
Joyful.
happy.
Yeah. That's the real.
Second, everybody is super focused on gratitude.
Yeah.
I think those are the keys of. I mean, I think gratitude is being the key to be happy.
I think yes, they work hand in hand.
But people are going the wrong side of the street. They are trying to be happy to be grateful. But in fact, when you are more grateful, you be more happy.
Do you find this to be true for you too, Michelle?
Yes, I totally agree. More
Yeah.
grateful you are. Also, I feel like more grateful you are, more it comes to your way, right?
You attract it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I just came back from 30 days in Japan, and
Wow.
it was just so incredible how much people or the universe was giving me. And it was just like so many coincidences and so many genuine kind hearts that was coming my way. And I'm just being grateful. And, like I was grateful before I showed up. And then more things come my way.
Hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. How is Japan? How long did you spend there in your childhood before you moved to New York?
I was there until when I was 17.
So really until almost adulthood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I spent all my adult
Yeah.
life in the States, and I've been here about 32 years. So I kind of lost in touch with Japanese language or culture. But during pandemic, that's another thing. I'm being very grateful for what happened during pandemic, where everyone got to connect via Zoom or like StreamYard, right? Like what we're doing. This wasn't really available much before pandemic, and because of that, I'm very grateful for, I mean, I wouldn't say, oh, I'm glad that happened, but I'm glad
Right.
that these came out of pandemic. And because of that, I was able to connect with Japanese people. So I had so many welcoming party at each city.
Mhm.
which wasn't the case before pandemic. I didn't have too many friends in Japan.
Uh, about 7 years I lived in Brazil.
Where?
And in Brazil.
Oh,
Brazil.
Brazil, huh?
And, you know, they say that the most delicious Japanese food out of Japan, you can find them only in Brazil because there's a strong Japanese population in Brazil.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
And in my life, my first like real interaction, like real social connection with Japanese people was in Brazil.
Oh.
So that was very interesting because, of course, their realities are much more different because most of them are moved to Brazil, as I understand, in 1940s. So they exposed to Brazilian culture quite a bit. But still, they were keeping their traditions in one way in Brazil. But I think it's so like fascinating that, as I understand, in Japan, which is very related to your work, the landscape of the houses are very limited.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, in big cities, the square meters of the houses are very small, right?
Yes, in like Tokyo and large cities.
Yes. So when you're going to Brazil, it's a huge country. Brazil is like bigger than Europe, so they have so much land. And what I heard, I don't know, I haven't been their houses, but what I heard from the people that they get lots of things in their home.
Mm.
Meaning they hoard.
Yes, like they collect the things because in Japan they don't have that much spaces in their houses. So when they go there, they get it.
Okay.
So they were saying that, I mean, as I say, it is what I heard. I didn't experience it. I don't want to be disrespectful to any culture, but that's what I heard. So they were saying that you can see their house with stuff with lots of things because they want to own the things which they like. So in fact, what Michelle doing is very different than that because she's organizing. It's like one level after experience. You get me? Like when you collect things, collect. After that, you say, okay, I collected too much. I need to organize. So Michelle is the solution of that.
It's the next level.
And
Yeah.
also, it's very interesting because Michelle lives in New York.
Right.
So in New York, as I understand, majority of the houses are not so large
Right.
in New York City.
Yeah.
And Japan is the same. So Michelle naturally needs to be more organized.
You're right. Yes.
Right.
So that's very interesting, in fact.
Right. Maybe just to segue to that, what do you feel has been your biggest exploration or discovery so far? Y-
Yes. So for me, the biggest discovery and exploration for me is how when you think something is a challenge, that it can turn into your gift. That is
yeah.
something I teach a lot to my students. You know, like what I just mentioned, right? Like Zoom, StreamYard, you know, like those are kind of things that wasn't available before pandemic. Yes, pandemic was a challenge, and you know, New York City was hit really hard. It wasn't easy to be in New York City during that time, and there was all these gift that was left with it. So where would you focus, right? Can you keep focusing on the bad stuff that happened, or can you keep focusing on the gift that came out? So I also have a autoimmune condition, and because of that, I'm very grateful because I'm already a healer, and I learned even more ways to be able to help myself and help others, and I can have even more direct compassion to the people who's going through chronic illness. So anything and everything anything and every problem or challenge can turn into gift, and it's really up to you.
That's beautiful. In a way, it's like an exploration of perspectives. Like,
Yes.
how do you choose to see things? And we were talking about this the other day, that perspective is the way to shift mindset and then start manifesting the reality that you want.
And I think everything is starting in our mind. I mean, I have seen so many like scientific research about it, but our consciousness is just a drop in the ocean.
Mhm.
Subconsciousness, which is the records of everything, is basically moving us to a direction. And in fact, what successful people can discover that they know how to lead their subconsciousness. So if they really believe from the subconsciousness to success, to happiness, and if they are really grateful, at the moment they start to attract everything.
Yes.
And that's a level of like no doubt, because you know that, okay, I believe it will come.
Mhm.
So like you're walking on the street and someone says, Michelle, you don't think, you just turn because you feel like
The
you're
reflex
called.
already.
So
Yeah.
if at any moment which you are going to look at something and you are going to see beautiful things, and if any challenges, you're going to believe in success, I think that's the time when you are going to get it.
Yes. Yeah. That is, I can so relate to that because the trip I just had, everything was kind of like that. I just followed my intuition. And I don't know if you know this like floating shrine gate that is in Japan. Like that's one of the most famous iconic like Japanese
The
trip.
orange gates, right?
That's like floating in the water. So there's this like very famous spot. And I was there for 2 days. And it just happens the day I was there, they were doing the floating lantern festival.
Wow.
And this is
Wow.
the first time ever. Right? It's just like what are the chances? And
Wow.
every city was something like that. It's like, oh yeah, this today just happened to be the day we do this, and it's like, oh really? I didn't plan for that. That's so amazing. So, but I just feel like when you just set your mind to, I'm gonna have an amazing day, then you kind of just get called to go a certain place.
Right.
Right, like what Corey was saying, like you get called to Michelle, and then I'm like, okay, like I sometimes I'm like doubting, like, should I go this way? But I'm like, okay, follow my intuition, have faith. And then I follow, and it's like, whoa, what is this amazing gift? So
In fact, sorry.
go ahead.
In fact, like I think 2 days ago, 3 days ago, we were talking with Steve and Tracy about it. Like when you wake up, let's say in one day, you will have 100 things, you're going to experience 100 things. And 50 of them are good, 50 of them are not good. So when you wake up, and if you are going to say that today is going to be an amazing day, and if you will believe on it, you're not going to pay attention on the not wonderful things. You're going to focus on the things which are going to be good, and you keep on following them. So you will attract the better things because you will walk on that. But if you're going to say, oh, that's not a good day, you're going to start to experience, because your focus is on the things which are not wonderful. So then, until you will make a change, your day is going to not be the excellent day because you're going to focus on the things which are not wonderful.
Yes.
Related to what Michelle does. So if you take out everything that does not spark joy in your life,
Okay.
then whatever lands on your lap is something you would welcome because it's all wonderful. Yeah, that's really wow. And you're able to do this not just for physical environments of people, but their minds. and apply it to business. That's
Yeah.
amazing, Michelle. And yeah, your journey as a business coach also.
Okay.
Right.
What was it? Sleep therapy.
Hypnotherapy.
Hypnotherapy. I
Oh.
don't know.
Okay, no.
I'm so trying to really. I am willing to try hypnotherapy once in my life, but I couldn't find anyone who can do it so much.
So Steve is.
Yeah.
Okay. But I guess next, what is next for you, Michelle? You've gone through the journey of Japan to New York, and then you've touched base on your roots again very recently. So what's next on your plate? What would you like to do?
Well, what's next on my plate is coming to Istanbul to be with you guys. This is a city I always wanted to come visit. So I hear the amazing hospitality, amazing food, the history, and I love guiding people. So, it was funny. I was in Japan and hanging out with my Japanese friends who live in Japan. And then I would like tell them like, hey, why don't we do this? And they're like, oh, I never seen this before. I never done this before. So I love sharing new perspective and amazing experience, and then also community with people. So many cities, they actually got a gathering for me. So there's like about dozen people at private restaurants room, and we really had a wonderful time. And I feel like what we're gonna have in Istanbul is the different version of that, where our community get to explore together and really be in touch with ourselves and share ourselves with each other in this amazing city called Istanbul.
Yes, and also there's another thing. Our community is just forming, so we are going to witness the birth of this community.
Right.
Yeah, that's
And
amazing.
I love the way you said that something that feels very familiar already with people, you see something new in it and you add value even to those who are already in it. I think that's a very specific gift to be able to give that new perspective, even to the ordinary. That's something that super resonates with me because I love putting value in the everyday. And I would love to talk more about all these things, especially Japan and New York, two of my favorite cities and countries. Yeah. So I really, really am so excited to see you here in a few days in person. We will have a lot of time to talk about these things that excite us and spark joy.
And also, when you're in Istanbul, I will tell you something, or maybe in festival when we're talking, I can tell about this story about Japan and Turkey. So
Oh,
you're going to be like, wow, it was a really like it. So that's a good story.
Something to keep you in suspense. Like, there's something. Yeah.
I think we will listen lots of good stories in the festival.
Yes, and to everyone who's watching us today, you heard a lot of great things from Michelle tonight. And if you want to dig deeper and have more conversations with her and the other Leadia explorers, please join us in Istanbul. That's in a week, 1 week. We are starting this beautiful festival. So thank you again, Michelle, for joining us tonight. And it's such a lovely time to spend 30 minutes getting to know you, and yes, to more explorations and sparking joy. Yeah.
thank you for having me, and see everyone in 1 week. Come join us.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much. See you in Istanbul.